YouTube, it's Zoe, and I don't know if you know, but I have a book haul to share with all of you. Are you surprised? As you can tell, I am back up at my room at university. I am in my last semester of university. I graduate, hopefully, if everything goes right, I will graduate in December. I just came back from interning abroad in London, and so everything is very... It's a state of chaos right now in my life, so I have been stress purchasing some books. I also purchased quite a fair few books in London, so that's what I'm sharing with you all today. Prepare yourself because it's going to be quite a long haul. So let's get cracking. Let's not delay any further. The first book I have to share with you all is The Forest Queen by Betsy Cornwell. This is a Fiction Faction book for August and September. If you don't know, Fiction Faction is a book club I'm in with Natasha from Tashopolis, Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, and Maureen from Maureen Keevy. This is a YA retelling of Robin Hood with a 16-year-old girl as the protagonist as Robin Hood. I have not read The Legend of Robin Hood, and I haven't read any retellings of Robin Hood, but I have seen the Disney animated Robin Hood with the fox as the main character, and I have seen Robin Hood Men in Tights. And I really like both of those. I'm ready for a retelling. It's been far too long. I can't think of any other retellings right now. Oh my goodness. I'm a fake booktuber. But thanks to HMH Teen for sending me this book, for sponsoring this video. Now moving on to the books that I purchased in London. The first book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This copy is already pretty battered. I've already read it. I brought this copy around with me everywhere. I would read it during my commute to my internship, and then we went on trips around the UK with my program, and this was always in my bag. So I feel like there's a little bit of me in this. Also, it's such a good book. This is not a review video, but please read it. This follows a woman named Monique who is kind of a mid-level journalist, and she is surprised one day to find that a mega movie star, Evelyn Hugo, wants her to write her biography. Evelyn Hugo first became famous in the 1950s, and she remained famous until the 1980s. She won an Oscar, but she is most notoriously known for having 7 husbands, for having quite a scandalous love life. So this is written as if it is Evelyn Hugo's biography, classic Hollywood up until today, but we also get some of Monique's perspective. I bought this in London, and I read it. Moving on. The next book I have to share is The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett. Yes, I finally purchased a Terry Pratchett book for myself. My dad, my entire family are all really big Terry Pratchett fans, and they have been trying to get me to read Pratchett since I was about 7 years old, but I've always resisted for some reason. I think that was my way to rebel against my family. Instead of, you know, going out and partying or whatever people do to rebel, I just didn't read a book they wanted me to read. But now I'm finally giving in. He's written so many books in the Discworld series? Is it a series? Just the world of Discworld. So I really didn't know where to start. So I just picked up the very first book he ever wrote. I know this isn't a lot of people's favorite. So Discworld is a disc world. Wow. Mind blown, but it's a flat world that lies on the backs of 4 elephants that are standing on the back of a giant turtle flying through space. I believe. I think I got that wrong. When I was abroad, I also got to visit Paris, and while I was there, I thought I had to purchase a book in French to add to my collection of books in languages I do not speak. So I purchased The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I don't speak French. I did download Duolingo while I was in France, picked up a few words. I know man and woman, and yes, and no, and please. So basically, I'm half the way there. I also purchased I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, who also wrote 101 Dalmatians, which I did not know was originally a book. This follows Cassandra, who lives in a crumbling castle with her impoverished family. Her dad is a struggling writer who is dealing with writer's block, and they're all just living their life in their castle when one day the American heirs to the castle show up and I assume are trying to boot him out of the house, but then Cassandra falls for one of them. Ho ho ho. I said, why am I Santa suddenly? I have Eleanor Olaf is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, which is another really beat up book because I brought it with me on my commute, and so it's filled with love and also tea stains. Eleanor Oliphant completely sticks by her routine. She wears the same clothes every day. She knows exactly what she's going to eat. She loves her routine, but she's also completely lonely. But one day something happens that breaks her routine, and that starts a domino effect, changing her entire life. I don't want to spoil too much, but this deals with mental illness and loneliness. I have two more classic books that I picked up on the fly for really no reason, and that is Dracula by Bram Stoker and The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I picked both of these up in Whitby. I looked it up and Bram Stoker was inspired by Whitby. Also, there is a tomb for Dracula in Whitby. Couldn't find it, but I searched for it. There's a lot of Dracula stuff in that town. So I had to purchase the book. I've never read it. I have read The Secret Garden. I purchased these editions because they already match my existing Penguin hardcover books. Gotta keep that bookshelf aesthetic. I also purchased Mary Queen of Scots by Antonia Fraser, which is a biography on Mary Queen of Scots. I purchased this in Edinburgh, Scotland, where I was already learning a lot about Mary Queen of Scots, so I thought why not expand on my knowledge, really get an in-depth history of her life. The last book I purchased when I was in the UK was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Scots edition. So it's written in Scottish dialect. I don't even want to try to read this in a Scottish accent, but let me just tell you that it's called Hogwarts School of Carlincraft and Warlockery. Probably sounds much better in a Scottish accent. I need to have a Scottish person come and read this to me because I feel like just reading it myself, I'm not going to get the full experience, but I hope there's an audiobook out there. Those are all of the books that I purchased abroad. Now on to the other books that I purchased. The first being Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is the first book in a new fantasy series inspired by West African mythology. It's also kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender. There are several different types of magic users, or magi. Not exactly like Avatar, which are just the 4 elements. There are 10 magi clans in all. There is Magi of Life and Death, Magi of Mind, Spirit, and Dreams, Magi of Water, Magi of Fire, Magi of Air, Magi of Iron and Earth, Magi of Darkness and Light, Magi of Health and Disease, Magi of Time, and Magi of Animals. This is set in a world where there were the 10 different magi clans helping to run society. But of course there were still individuals who could not do magic. They became bitter. They also were the ones in power, using all of their power to suppress the magi, and one day magic completely disappeared. Our main character Zaylee, she finds her chance to bring back magic and take down the corrupt government. I was sent Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. This is the companion novel to Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which I loved and which has one of the best book to movie adaptations of all time. Love Simon, if you have not seen it. This follows Simon's friend Leah, who is struggling with the end of high school and seeing her friend group disintegrate, and she's also finding herself in love with someone she does not want to be in love with. I have a lot of middle grade to share with you all. I'm trying to expand my reading taste, trying to try out different genres that I've been too hesitant to try in the past, and middle grade is definitely one of those genres. It's not just for middle schoolers. There is quality literature in every genre. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. shaming readers. The first middle grade book is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi. The first book actually by Rick Riordan Presents, which is Rick Riordan's new imprint dedicated to own voices writers to tell their own culture's mythological stories. So Roshni Chokshi was inspired by Hindu mythology. Arusha has a tendency to stretch the truth, and her lies obviously get her into a little spot of trouble. One day, 3 of her schoolmates show up at where her mom works, which is the Museum of Ancient Indian Art and Culture, where there is a lamp of Bharata. The classmates dare Aru to light the lamp, which ends up waking up an ancient demon that freezes the classmates and her mom in time, and it's up to Aru to save the day. The next middle grade is George by Alex Gino, which follows a transgender girl named George. Her teacher announces that they will be performing Charlotte's Web, and George really wants to be Charlotte, but her teacher will not let her. George, along with her best friend, form a plan so that George can become Charlotte and also let everyone know who she truly is. I'm so happy that this book exists. I haven't even read it. I don't know if I'd like the story itself. It's great to know that we are still moving in the right direction. Acceptance and inclusivity and representation for everybody. Though slowly, we are still making change. I purchased Crenshaw by Catherine Applegate. This was in the bargain section of Books A Million, and I haven't heard too much about this, but I read the synopsis and I thought, why not give it a shot? This follows a boy named Jackson whose family has fallen on hard times and they may have to live in their minivan once again. Crenshaw is a giant imaginary cat who comes back into Jackson's life to help him cope with everything that's going on. This deals with how hard circumstances affect a child's life and how they don't fully understand everything that's happening, so they have to find ways to process. And then the next middle grade is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson, which has won so many awards. So I was at Books A Million again, and going through that middle grade section, I saw this, I read the synopsis, and I thought, yes, I'm going to read you. This is an autobiography that focuses on her life growing up as an African American in the 1960s and 70s, and it's written in poetry. Then we have the last middle grade book that I've recently purchased, which is Furthermore by Tahana Mafi. This is also one that I picked up bargain priced at Books A Million. I love my local Books A Million. Always so many good books that are like $6. This is kind of inspired by Alice in Wonderland. The main character is named Alice and she lives in a world of color, but she herself is completely colorless. Her father is missing, so she and a friend travel to the dangerous and also whimsical world of Furthermore to try to find him, and it's very Wonderland-esque. Now into some more non-middle grade books. I purchased China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan, which is the sequel to Crazy Rich Asians, which I read a couple of months ago. Also, I saw the movie. If you have not seen Crazy Rich Asians, I don't know what you're doing with yourself. I immediately came out of the movie theater and had this overwhelming need to read the sequel. So I got into my car immediately, went straight from the movie theater to Barnes & Noble, paid full price for this bad boy. I haven't picked up the book yet though, but I will. I then purchased The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, which follows a biracial girl named Lee who travels to Taiwan for the first time to meet her maternal grandparents after her mother commits suicide. She is sure that when her mom died, she turned into a bird, so she's trying to find this bird. During her search, she encounters ghosts and family secrets. Both of those sound very interesting. She's getting to know her family while she's growing up and grieving at the same time. It sounds like it'll be an emotional book that makes me cry. I actively try to seek books that make me cry because it's catharsis, man. I was then sent 2 books, An Ember in the Ashes and A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir. Actually, I have already been sent the paperback version of An Ember in the Ashes, and I previously purchased the hardcover version for myself, so I now have 3 copies of this book that I've never read. I'm definitely going to have to gift some copies to some of my friends and family so that we can make an impromptu book club. What a problem to have though. Wow. Thank you so much, publishers, for sending me books. It's so appreciated. This fantasy series is set in a world inspired by the militaristic Roman Empire, and it is told in multiple perspectives. It is told from the perspective of Laia, who is a slave, and Elias, who is a soldier. Laia's brother was arrested for treason, so Laia agrees to team up with a band of rebels and spy on the soldier academy. There she meets Elias, and they team up with the rebels, I guess, to take down the Empire. That's all it explains on the back cover. That already sounds very action-packed. The third one, A Reaper at the Gates, just came out in June, so I'm gonna have to step on this if I'm gonna get caught up before the fourth one comes out next year. These covers, though, I love them. I have a graphic novel, which is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang. Look at this colorful art style. It's so cute. Yes. Oh, I haven't read it yet. I don't know why I'm flipping through every single page, spoiling myself, and all of you, sorry about that. This is set in Paris, I'm guessing before the French Revolution, because it follows a prince. Prince Sebastian's parents are dead set on finding him a wife, but he's not interested. He is way too busy with his secret life. At night, he puts on dresses and becomes Lady Crystalia, the greatest fashion icon of Paris, and his greatest weapon is his best friend Frances, his dressmaker. She makes her own designs and she aspires to greatness. She wants to be a well-known dressmaker, but of course, she has to remain his secret weapon. She must choose between her dreams and remaining his friend. This is going to be one that I read when I'm feeling sad or blue, or want something to cheer me up. And the last two books I have, I just purchased today at Books A Million because I have a problem treating myself because I have an exam in 2 days. It's my third week of school. I already have an exam and a paper and a project due this week. So I'm buying books and filming a video instead. I'm okay. I picked up The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one by Amanda Lovelace, who also wrote The Princess Saves Herself in this one, I believe. It's a collection of poetry, like I said before, trying to expand my reading tastes. I don't think I've ever read poetry for fun, only when it's required for school, so that might be why I'm not drawn towards poetry. And the last book I bought, the last book in this haul, is Cersei by Madeline Miller. This is a reimagining of the life of Cersei from Greek mythology, from the Odyssey. I love Greek mythology. I love reimaginings, retellings. Madeline Miller also wrote The Song of Achilles, which a lot of people here on BookTube have raved about, so I thought, why not give her newest book a shot, especially because when I was in London, I met Jean from Jean Bookish Thoughts, who is studying classics. She reads a lot of Greek mythology, and she read this book and recommended it to all of us. So those are all of the books that I've recently purchased. Some of them not so recent because I purchased them over the course of this summer, but anyway, the books that I purchased since my last book haul, please let me know down below which book I should pick up first, because like every time I do a book haul, I keep thinking that each book I pick up is going to be the next book that I read. That obviously cannot be the case. Thank you so much for watching and for sticking around this far into the video. I know I've gone a little bonkers in this video. It's been so long since I filmed and I'm so excited to be back. Also, I had a lot of caffeine before filming. I'll talk to you all soon in my next video. Hopefully I've calmed down between now and then. Bye!